The rule of law matters. And you can't have the rule of law if cops can't enforce the rule of law and be abandoned by the very people that are supposed to support them. And that's what's happening. You can't have the rule of law if the borders are wide open. If you're ignoring the law, parole, which is supposed to be on a case-by-case basis to pump thousands of people into our country, including, by the way, the individual who killed Laken Riley, who was unlawfully paroled into the United States by this administration, but guess what? Without any consequence, except for Laken Riley, who's no longer with us. That's what happened. That's the truth. Lawlessness, ignoring the rule of law, endangering the American people. And now you have the rank lawlessness of a sham trial against the former president in New York. A bootstrap charge that relies on an unreliable witness being presided over by a biased judge. That's the truth, and anybody with eyes knows it. It's not the rule of law. It's the use of the law for political purposes and gain. It is, as some refer to it, lawfare against the former president of the United States. I don't care what you think of President Trump, President Biden, anybody else. When you weaponize our system of justice for political purposes, you are nothing more than a third-rate banana republic. And that is precisely what is happening in the state of New York right now by a lawless judge, a biased judge, frankly, who should be investigated himself, who's targeting the former president for political purposes. It is clearly obvious. No citizen would be treated to the same attack as what is happening right now to former President Trump. Again, I am not afraid to call out members of both sides of the aisle. I'm not afraid to call out President Biden. I'm not afraid to call out former President Trump. I am not paid to be a loyalist. I'm not paid to be biased. I'm not paid to wear a red shirt versus a blue shirt. I am paid to represent 750,000 Texans, to follow the Constitution, to honor my duty to the Lord, and to do my job. That's what I'm paid to do. But to watch the former president of the United States being hauled into court day after day with a sham trial, and you cannot describe it as anything but a sham trial. The DA's office previously determined that its theory of criminal liability under New York law would not hold up. That's the truth. So they bootstrapped it into a felony because it frankly would have been time barred if they hadn't done that. And so you got to have the felony charge proving that Trump was concealing another crime. That's why they're now trying to pull in a federal campaign charge. But the campaign laws in question are federal. And when New York's penal code speaks of concealing, quote, another crime, it must be referring to a crime under New York law. But they're trying to bootstrap it into federal law. That's the truth. It's hard to see how the government could meet the burden of proof. According to my good friend Andy McCarthy, a former federal prosecutor, he wrote that saying, not unless there is as yet undisclosed evidence that Trump actually paused to consider the possibility that these payments were in-kind campaign expenditures, believe they might well be, yet went through with them anyway. All bootstrapped federal law into state crime charges. Neither the Justice Department nor the Federal Election Commission bureaucrats whose expertise lies in the operation of the relevant laws allege wrongdoing by Trump. Yet here we are. And by the way, the whole theory hinges on Michael Cohen, who is widely viewed to have committed perjury in multiple locations, including before this very body in the House Oversight Committee, as Chairman Comer is laid out for the public to see. By the way, a convicted felon he is. By the way, disbarred he is. Previously pleading guilty to perjury, financial crimes, campaign finance violations. Southern District of New York decided it was not best to give him a cooperation agreement because they'd have to rely on his testimony. Yet here we are, and we've got this case proceeding with Bragg doing it for political purposes, all in front of a biased judge. Judge Merchan refused Trump legal team requests that he recuse himself over bias because his daughter, Lauren, worked as a Democrat political consultant. One of our own colleagues, Mr. Goldman, formerly a lawyer for Schiff, Representative Schiff, during Trump's first impeachment, is her client and has also been working to prep Cohen for testimony undergoing this week. And by the way, the daughter of the judge has worked for prominent Democrats, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Congressman Adam Schiff, has made multiple contributions to Democratic campaigns. Meanwhile, Bragg continues. This whole sham of a trial undermines the rule of law and the faith of the American people in it. You do not have to love the political target, in this case, former President Trump, to recognize the extraordinary damage that this is doing to the rule of law and our institutions. And by the way, the purposeful damage it is attempting to be done to President Trump himself. That's the purpose. And to his great credit, he's persisting. Not allowing this kangaroo court in New York to undermine his ability to continue to campaign, to try to garner the votes necessary to win in November, come in here and clean up the mess that is being created by the lawless Biden administration, a Biden administration which is engaging in lawless behavior on a daily basis, whether it's student loans, ignoring the courts, whether it's wide open borders, whether it's fentanyl pouring into our communities, whether it's perpetuating this undermining of cops. That's all happening in real time. It is hard to keep up with the rampant level of lawlessness coming out of the current administration and the abject failure of my radical progressive Democratic colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do a thing about it. I might note, as an equal opportunity basher of all members of Congress, that nor has really the Republican side of the aisle done much to check the current president. Wide open borders, funded. FBI lawlessness, political witch hunts, weaponized against the people and the former president, $200 million in new headquarters. If you fund it, you own it. But I can tell you that this lawlessness is demonstrably undermining the faith of the American people in the institution of Congress and of our institutions upon which our entire society rests. Right now, people do not believe that our political system is working. They do not have faith in elections. They do not have faith that our borders are being protected. They do not have faith that our police are being supported, that our streets are safe. They do not have faith in a system of justice that will target a former president for political purposes, a Department of Justice that will be weaponized against the people. A woman just yesterday or 2 days ago that was sentenced to 57 months in jail, almost 5 years, because she protested at an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. Maybe she committed it. By the way, a progressive activist in jail for 57 months. It is extraordinary